Hello, and welcome to the Hello You Show, where big dreams meet real action. Through transformative stories, a bit of neuroscience, and real conversations, this show is here to help you explore creating your next level life with authenticity and passion. I am Jessica Rice, a design techie and former engineering leader turned vision evolution coach on a mission to help other women rise up and lead a life of purpose. So get cozy and say hello again to the real you. Hi, my name is Jessica Rice. I am the founder of Jessica Rice Coaching and the host of the Hello You Show. Thanks so much for joining me today. In this short episode, we're going to be covering what I consider to be the most crucial and important aspect of leadership, whether you own your own company or are a leader of a large corporation. And while Steve Jobs might be synonymous with Apple, he's not only Apple. Sarah Blakely is not just the founder of Spanx, and while it's an amazing company, she is highly regarded as being a powerhouse leader and speaker and innovator for women. Now, when we start to think about what separates these individuals from the rest of us, it all comes down to their presence, their impact, and what it is that they truly believe in. Now, we may not agree with all of them and their beliefs and their core values, but we can agree on the fact that they have something that makes them unique and a little bit special. So, what is it that you bring? In my years of design work and strategic planning and brand strategy, when I was working with companies, the key things that we talked about were not about how you just go create a logo or a website. In fact, those things did not come first. They came later. The first thing that we wanted to think about when we were establishing the brand, the positioning, and the messaging was what were those key differentiators that the brand had outside of their competitors? Who was their target audience? And what was that message that their target audience needed to hear from them? What made them unique? And when we start to think about what our unique signature brand is, we can start to think about how do we start to separate ourselves and stand apart and become our own brand, essentially. I see so many leaders posting on behalf of the companies that they work for, where their presence is synonymous with that company alone. And then what happens? They either get laid off, they leave the company, and they no longer know who they are. They've lost their identity. So they're no longer thought of as a leader of a main company, Microsoft, Netflix, Uber, wherever that is. So when you're thinking about how you want to rise up in your leadership, whether you are a leader, an executive for a large firm, coach, a consultant, whatever that looks like for you, is to really consider, how am I showing up separate from whatever I'm doing, even if it's your own company, so that you can be thought of in relation to your thought leadership, what your purpose is, what you stand for and believe in, and what your story is. What's the message that you are here to tell? Donald Miller has created a wonderful framework in his book, Story Brand. And it really does talk about what's that arc, the character journey. And when you're talking about your story, you need to be taking your audience on a journey, helping them to see what it is that you are wanting to express to them and really make it vivid and clear and exciting. When you're thinking about your signature brand, a few key things to consider is number one, what are my strengths? What are those key differentiators that I bring to the table that no one else does? Now, you might be strong in your communication just like millions of other people, or you might be really good at working with teams or delegating or having empathy. But there is still something unique about the way that you approach it. And that's that key differentiator that I'm talking about. I recently did an episode on the framework that I use with clients on developing your presence, and I call it the Amplify framework. It's a 5-step system that really talks about how do we start to engage our brand and look at ourselves or position ourselves differently. It goes with aligning with our purpose. Our purpose is everything. There's a key phrase when we're working with teams where the purpose defines the team doesn't define the purpose. And this is very true for what it is you stand for in your leadership. Once you have clarity on your purpose, the rest can fall in line. But if you're unsure of your purpose and what it is that you're here to do as a leader, it's somewhat harder to really identify how you want to grow and the trajectory that you want to take yourself. So you have to align with your purpose. The next is architecting your vision. What is it that you want to create? Where do you see yourself heading? And what is that legacy that you are wanting to leave behind? The third is amplifying your visibility. If no one knows who you are or sees you, it's going to be very hard to create a brand. So you have to start getting yourself out there a little bit more. Start sharing some of your ideas so that others can start to understand who you are, what you represent, what you're all about. And then it comes into activating your network. Our network is our net worth, whether you own a company or are leading one, your internal network as well as your external network. So when you can start to get to know the people who are side by side with you in the trenches, as well as those who are prominent in your industry, now you're starting to establish yourself as a leader within your industry, and you're thought of when you're not in the room. What people say about us when we're not in the room is our brand. So really consider how you're showing up each and every day. Are you in alignment with your core values and what it is that you're wanting to create? And are you spreading that message effectively? And the fifth one is really achieving momentum. Sometimes we get really excited kicking off in the ground, but then we struggle at the start. And that's because momentum takes work. It takes personal resilience. It takes stoicism. It takes commitment and consistency to really get off the ground. And so once you've done all of the work to define it and create networks and get to know other people, you have to still show up on the days that are hard as much as you show up on the days that are exciting. We don't get paid to speak if we don't want to show up that day. And we don't get paid to lead if we just stay home. And so we have to think about our brand like a business. And so when you are putting yourself out there, you have to be consistent with putting yourself out there, even when it's tough. Now, I know that might seem like a lot to fit into this short episode, but I want you to really consider how many people actually know what I represent and care about. How many people within my organization and how many people outside of my organization? And how does that differ from the work that I do? Because your job is not your brand. You can solve problems all day long, but that's not necessarily what you represent. And in leadership, we are doing so much more than simply watching other people do work or handing out tasks. So really consider for yourself, what type of leader am I? What do I stand for? What do I represent? And is that message clear to others? And then start to consider, what's the language, what's the vocabulary that I want to exude, that I want to use, that I want other people to consider or think about when they hear those words. And I call those power words. And we use power words in marketing all the time. But sometimes we don't consider, how do we strategically start using vocabulary in our own leadership? Now, if you've been into negotiations or strategic planning or anything that has to do with working with the customer, then you know that sometimes our words matter, how they're placed, what we say. And so if we don't practice our communication and we don't really think about the words that are coming out of our mouth, then it might be more of a struggle to deliver our message effectively. Again, clarity is key. And once you start getting more visibility around your brand, what it is that you're saying, putting yourself out there, sharing your message, there are going to be key words that people are going to start thinking about when they hear your name. And you can think about even Brene Brown. What are words that come up when we hear Brene Brown? Well, vulnerability is one of them. So I want you to consider, what is it that you stand for? You don't have to be an author or a well-paid speaker or famous to have a brand. But what you do need to have is conviction. You need to have purpose, and you have to know what it is that you are wanting to do within your career so that you can be set in how you're moving forward in your trajectory and why it truly matters. If you're wanting to create a legacy for yourself, where when you look back on the years of culminated, all your experience, all your wisdom, all your expertise, everything that you bring to the table, then you need to create something that's memorable, and you need to become memorable. And while that might feel uncomfortable at times, it's crucial for how we maneuver within our roles, within our career, within our trajectory. I had a client recently who was laid off from his role. And as we worked on establishing his brand, then it started to become clear, number one, what he stood for, and the types of companies and the types of offers and opportunities that started to roll in were in so much greater alignment for the work that he wanted to do, what he wanted to be a part of, what mattered to him. See, when we start thinking that our job is not just a job, it's where we spend 70% of our lives, it starts to become a little bit more clear what's important to us. And when we want to show up every single day excited about the work that we're doing, fueled with purpose and fulfillment and meaning, having a brand helps to create that for us. And it helps to signal to the other people who might be looking that we're the ones who are the right fit for them. And it also gives you clarity on what's a right fit for you. So all things considered, developing a signature brand is your powerhouse strategic move for growing in your career. And when you can create a strategy and put it into place and you start having clarity around what it is that you're here to do, what it is that you represent, and how you present that, now you are a thought leader. Thanks so much for joining me today. We have some amazing guests joining us on the Hello You Show in the next couple of weeks. Make sure that you tune in and listen. I'm very, very excited to share them with you. I know it's going to be a game changer. See you next week. Thank you for tuning in to the Hello You Show. It's been a pleasure to have you with us on this journey today. If you found value in our conversation and want to support the show, please take a moment to like, follow, and subscribe so you never miss an episode. We'd also deeply appreciate it if you could leave us a review. Your feedback not only helps us grow, but also enables others seeking inspiration and authenticity to discover our community. Until next time, keep embracing your story with purpose.